Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Today I have a story for you, and it is a powerful one. This is not only for your listening practice, it is also for your heart. The story is called Nothing is Free, and by the end, you will understand why some of the most valuable things in life come only through effort, patience, and courage. There was a boy named Daniel. He was 19 years old, and he lived in a quiet village near the coast, where the sea wind touched every street. Daniel had one big dream. He wanted to open his own bicycle repair shop and become known across the village as a man people could trust. But his path was not smooth. His family had very little money. His father, Robert, worked long hours fixing fences for other farmers, and his mother, Helen, washed clothes for wealthier families just to bring food to the table. Daniel's little brother, Tom, was only 9, and he believed his older brother could do anything. One quiet night, Daniel sat on the roof of their small house, looking up at the sky full of stars. He whispered softly, "I want to build something of my own. I want my family to live without worry. But where do I even begin when we have almost nothing?" The next morning, Daniel told his father about his dream. His father wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "Daniel, nothing in this life is free. Not comfort, not respect, not success. If you want something, you must earn it, even if you start with empty hands." Those words stayed with Daniel all day. Then an idea came to him. He noticed that almost every family in the village owned a bicycle, but the nearest repair shop was 2 towns away. People had to walk for hours just to fix a broken chain or a flat tire. Daniel thought, why not bring the repairs here? But there was a problem. He had no tools, and tools cost money he did not have. So Daniel decided to take a risk. He walked to the workshop of an old mechanic named Mr. Walsh, a serious man known for being difficult to convince. Daniel stood before him and said, "Sir, I want to repair bicycles in my village, but I cannot afford tools yet. Will you lend me what I need for 1 month? I will pay you back from what I earn, and I will work hard to prove I am serious." Mr. Walsh studied him for a long moment and asked, "Why should I believe a boy I barely know?" Daniel answered without hesitation, "Because I am willing to work harder than anyone you have ever trusted." Mr. Walsh finally agreed. "1 month," he said. "If you fail to repay me, do not return to this workshop again." Daniel was overjoyed. The next day, he carried a small bag of borrowed tools to the village square and set up a simple repair stand under a tree. He called out to everyone who passed, "Bicycle repairs, fast and honest." At first, people were unsure. They had never trusted a teenager with their only bicycle. But Daniel offered to fix the first few repairs for free, just to show his skill. Word spread quickly, and soon a small line formed. By sunset, Daniel had earned his very first coins. That evening, he returned every tool to Mr. Walsh and placed the borrowed money in his hand. The old man simply nodded and said, "You kept your promise. Come again tomorrow." From that day, Daniel worked tirelessly. He woke before dawn, walked to collect tools, repaired bicycles all day, and returned them each night without fail. After 2 months, he had saved enough to buy a small toolbox of his own. Stay with me, because this next part is where everything begins to change for Daniel. One afternoon, a customer told him, "Daniel, you are excellent at fixing bicycles, but if you also learn to build wheels and frames yourself, you could earn so much more." This idea both excited and frightened Daniel. He had never built anything from scratch. But in that moment, he understood something important. Nothing is free. Not success, not skill, not growth. If he wanted more, he had to risk more and learn more. Daniel returned to Mr. Walsh and asked humbly, "Sir, will you teach me how to build, not just repair?" Mr. Walsh frowned. "If you learn to build your own wheels, you will no longer need my shop." "That hurts my business," Daniel replied calmly. "That may be true, but I will never forget the man who first trusted me. If I succeed, I promise to send customers your way too." Mr. Walsh considered this, then said, "Very well, but building takes patience and many failures. Are you ready for that?" The lessons began before sunrise each day. Mr. Walsh taught him how to align wheels, weld small frames, and balance every part with precision. At first, Daniel failed again and again. His wheels wobbled, his frames bent wrong, and his hands ached from the effort. One evening, after ruining his third frame in a row, Daniel sat on the workshop floor and whispered, "Maybe I am not meant for this. Maybe I should stop trying." But his father's words echoed in his mind. Nothing is free. Every mistake was simply part of the price he had to pay. Giving up was not an option. He returned the next morning with fresh determination. Slowly, his skill improved. After 3 weeks, Mr. Walsh examined one of his finished wheels and said, "This is excellent work, Daniel. You are ready." Daniel could barely contain his joy. He rented a tiny shed behind his house and began building bicycles in the evenings. His brother Tom helped him organize tools, while his mother brought him tea late into the night. Word of his craftsmanship spread, and soon people were not only bringing bicycles to repair, they were ordering new ones built by his own hands. But success rarely comes without challenges. A few months later, a flashy new repair shop opened in the village, owned by a confident young man named Victor. Victor's shop had bright signs, polished counters, and shiny displays. Curious villagers began drifting toward him instead. Daniel watched his customers shrink week after week, and fear crept into his heart. What if everything he had built simply disappeared? Instead of giving up, Daniel chose to listen. He asked his remaining customers, "What does Victor's shop offer that mine does not?" Some said the shop looked clean and modern. Others said Victor offered colorful paint designs on the bicycles. Daniel realized he needed to grow not only as a craftsman, but as a businessman too. He used his savings to repaint his shed, added cheerful colors, and began offering custom paint patterns for every bicycle he built. He even taught himself new techniques by watching videos at the village library. Slowly, customers began to return. One day, an elderly farmer came to him and said, "Daniel, I have watched many young men quit when life became difficult. You never did. That is why I trust you." His words filled Daniel with quiet pride. Months turned into a year, and Daniel finally saved enough to rent a proper shop near the village square. It was small, but warm and full of life. He named it Daniel's Wheels. Every morning before sunrise, he opened the doors with a smile, ready to serve his community. His father, mother, and brother all helped him in different ways, and Daniel knew this was not the end of his journey. He wanted to grow further, to make his family proud, and to prove that anything truly is possible through hard work. Daniel's Wheels became the pride of the village. But one stormy night, while closing the shop, Daniel noticed smoke rising near the back wall. A small fire had started from an old wire. He rushed to put it out using water and sand, but several of his tools and machines were badly damaged. The next morning, villagers gathered outside, whispering among themselves. Some said, "This might be the end for him." Others wondered if he would ever recover. Daniel stood in front of his damaged shop and said firmly, "This is only a challenge. I have overcome difficulties before, and I will overcome this one too. I will not give up." He calculated his remaining savings and realized it was not enough to replace everything. For a moment, fear returned, but he remembered how he started, with nothing but determination and borrowed tools. He visited Mr. Walsh, who had since retired, and asked, "Sir, if you were in my place, what would you do?" Mr. Walsh smiled gently and replied, "Daniel, you already know the answer. You taught yourself that nothing is free. Work harder, trust yourself, and people will trust you in return." Inspired, Daniel began rebuilding immediately. He worked with whatever tools survived the fire and told his customers, "I will not disappoint you, even if I must start small again." The villagers, moved by his courage, began helping in return. Some donated spare tools, others gave small amounts of money, and many simply showed up to help clean and repair the shop. Daniel realized something powerful. When you refuse to give up, people notice, and they choose to stand beside you. After weeks of hard work, Daniel reopened his shop, better than before. He added new equipment, expanded his designs, and even began training 2 young apprentices from the village. On the day of the reopening, the village leader stood before the crowd and said, "Daniel, you are proof that determination can rebuild anything." Daniel looked at everyone gathered and said, "Thank you all. You have taught me that nothing in life is free, not success, not trust, not happiness. Everything must be earned through patience and persistence. Never let one failure convince you to stop, because every struggle is simply a step towards something greater." From that day forward, Daniel's Wheels was not just a repair shop. It became a symbol of hope for the entire village, and people from neighboring towns began traveling just to meet the young man who refused to quit. So, my friends, this story teaches us several powerful lessons. First, dreams are never free. They demand sacrifice and effort. Second, failure is not your enemy. It is simply a teacher in disguise. Third, when you help yourself first, others will rise to support you. And finally, never give up, because the darkest moment often arrives right before your breakthrough. Daniel did not simply build a shop. He built a life filled with purpose, pride, and meaning. And you can build yours too. If this story resonated with you, join our community at Wisdom Loom English, where we explore powerful stories like this every single week to help you learn English naturally while learning life's greatest lessons. Hit subscribe now so you never miss a story. Remember, nothing is free, but everything is possible.